Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. And today's impromptu video is going to be more a stream of consciousness. But again, this channel is particularly an opportunity and a venue for me to just share my heart and to be open about what's going on in my life, for me to pour out some of the recesses and the reserves that are not really going to be completely in line with the main channel, but that will fill in the gaps for those of you that care to follow my more personal life. So a lot of poetry coming soon. But what I was going to share today is just related to the ASMR that I'm working on. ASMR, if you're not familiar with it, is very interesting. When I first saw it maybe a year and a half ago, I was like, what is this? This is really weird. It's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this, never heard of it. If you're not familiar with it, it's like people, they do it in many different ways, but they're whispering close to the microphone that's very sensitive. It's not a cheap mic. You get an expensive mic where you're speaking closely to it, and your whispers are really, when you have, especially when you have good headphones on as the end user, the end listener, it kind of can send tingles down your spine. And again, if you're not used to it, it's very weird at first, but it can be kind of healing. If you've ever had like a massage or anything where it kind of sends goosebumps down your spine, it's kind of like that. It can be like that. And there's people that do it in all kinds of different ways. Mine is particularly going to be focused on a couple things. There's one that's going to be focused on sleep for people to just try to unwind and relax. That was a very big deal with me. I had chronic insomnia for 25 plus years. And that's one of the reasons I tell in my videos sometimes, I moved from Philly to Georgia specifically for a very special doctor who was able to cure it with no medicine after all those years, about 3 decades worth of severe insomnia. He cured it with no medicine within a month. Changed my life, but of course, because of that experience, I'm very sensitive to just how much a lack of sleep and rest and the ability to calm your mind down, how deeply that can hurt you emotionally and psychologically and physically. So sleep ASMR is a big deal. But in addition to that, I'm going to be working on several other versions of ASMR. I am working on them, I should say. And one of them is more of a romantic ASMR, just sharing some poetry and some stories that some of the stories I'll be making up are from my own past, my own history. Some will purely be imagination, where they're just made up in my mind. But things relate to romance are very critical for us to be healing. Just embracing passion and eroticism and love. I'm also going to be doing some other ASMR related to all kinds of topics. A lot of them you could quasi put them in the category of just healing and thriving, and they'll be separate in different ways. But it's been interesting as I've been really doing this. I've had to kind of start and stop a few times because I'll do it and be like, oh, it doesn't sound like me. It sounds like I'm trying to copy someone else, or I'm mimicking some dynamic. And I've kept on trying, just kept on hitting the stop and re-record button over and over for the last few days and weeks, trying to figure out my niche for how ASMR is going to work for me. And I feel like I'm hitting that stride, but it's one of the things that's interesting is you get into a mode where, especially with the romantic ASMR, where you just realize that, like, especially when you're in the context of my situation, which I've talked so much about, but when you're deprived of basic love and affection, of acceptance, of touch, of a hug for years at a time, just dealing with this passive aggressive Christian narcissism that is so prevalent, and it's in our faces, and it's like in a constant attack mode. You obviously kind of by default get into a mode where your walls are up. You're feeling less like yourself. You feel like you need to hide who you are in some ways. And it feels like you're kind of just surviving. You're in your survival mode all the time. You're on eggshells, walking on eggshells. And the ASMR, it's really been fascinating for me as I figure out how I'm going to do it. But especially the one about romance and some of the other healing ASMRs that I'll be doing, and a little bit with the sleep, but just embracing the idea of these situations, and especially these people who have attacked you and are attacking you, ignoring you or putting you down, whatever, just depriving you of basic civility and humanity, that creates a scenario where you just can't embrace the most beautiful things in life because you're just trying to get through, just trying to make it. But that's not a good place to stay for any of us. We thrive when we're right on the edge of romance, right on the edge of eroticism, right on the edge of delight and desire and passion. And I'm realizing more and more that, taking these dreams that I've had, that they're so much a part of who I am. They've always been there. It's not like they've ever been drowned out. You just kind of have to put them aside for seasons, because there's nothing you can do about it. You're no longer, the options are closed to you for the season that you're in. But to realize that despite the options being closed, and despite the fact that you can't pursue what you want to and enjoy what you want to, what you really end up doing is, in the process of trying to reach out and expand your mind, is you begin to say, these passions, they're right under the surface. They're just sitting there. And when you let them out, it is so healing. Just because someone else says, I'm not going to touch you, I'm not going to embrace you, I'm not going to let you touch me, I'm not going to let you see me. There's no skin to skin anymore. There's no romance. I just want to punish you for leaving, the Christianity. Just because you don't live in that world anymore doesn't mean that world isn't part of who you are. And you have to keep embracing that. You can't let any of the most beautiful parts of life be stopped just because there's people who attack you and try to ignore you and suppress you. Dreaming about and thinking about what makes you alive, what makes your heart race with delight, what makes you feel like your passions are just thriving and flourishing and playing and playful. What is that? The part of you that's the artist, that wants to just draw and paint all day. The part of you that's the photographer, that wants to just take beautiful photos and see the sunrise and the sunset. The part of you that wants to slow down and listen and feel the wind and smell the beautiful flowers, the beauty of nature, to listen to the creek flowing in the lake. The beauty of you that wants to go romantically pursuing, the love parts of life, the loving parts of life, where you're out dancing, and someone's dancing with you, ballroom dancing, but also just dancing in the kitchen. Little touches here or there. The desire to be a musician, to just have a song that, yes, that you actually create, but a song in your heart. When you deconvert, you realize that all these artistic talents and drives that you've had, they've never been for the Lord, because the Lord's never been there, but it's still you. And the talents that you've used to write theology books or to write prayers, you can turn that and say, I want to turn my beautiful heart and my passion and my zeal, just being alive. I want to be alive. I want to dance in my life, in my heart, in my mind. You turn that to the things that make you alive. And it almost can bring you to tears to realize how much Christians just want to kill that. And to say to yourself, I am going to be me. I am going to thrive. I'm going to be alive. I'm going to be the artist and the musician and the poet and the lover, the dancer that I'm supposed to be, if only in my mind, in my spirit, in my words. And ASMR, to me, you have to get yourself into a mindset to do it. It's a bit of a conjured mindset. You create a private space in your world and in your mind. You slow your breathing down. You slow your mind down. You take a deep breath. And you say, what beauty can I draw from? What beauty can I create with my words, with my poetry? with my voice. I desperately hope it's healing to other people as I take this journey. But it's amazing. It's healing to me too, to be a creator of this stuff, because you can't create it with no facade, just truly you, the real you coming through, not as just a presenter, as someone on camera, but as the real you coming through. Yes, on camera, but yes, it's really you. If someone saw you in real life and they saw you on camera on YouTube, they'd say, you're the same person. There's no discrepancy. This is really you. And to be that person and to just let yourself grow and say, despite these hardships, despite the pain, despite the setbacks, despite the utter loneliness and the lack of touch and all that stuff, you are still you, and you can thrive, and you can learn to heal and slow down all these negative thoughts that other people send to you, even if they trigger you daily, which in my case is very true, hourly, by the minute. And you can say, I am going to live my life in my mind in a beautiful place. I do have a beautiful mind and a beautiful heart. You can say that. And to create a space for yourself where the world slows down and you just make beauty. You just make beauty. Whether that beauty is as simple as dreaming about a romantic encounter that you may someday have, dreaming of embracing someone in a dance, dreaming of someone where you're on the sofa and you've got a pillow in your lap and they just put their head down and you just stroke their hair as they fall asleep, and as they're quietly just taking deep breaths, resting, and completely just enjoying the delight of being there with you, as you just touch their hair and gently caress their face. You just put yourself in that spot where you say, this is me. This is the real me. And if the real people in your life will never let that happen, be the real you in your heart, in your mind. And if circumstances ever change, that the real you can just come out because it's just right there, a millimeter under the surface. And if other people won't see that as beautiful, if the Christians want to just knock you down, be yourself inside, so that when they're out of the equation, the real you just pops to the surface instantly. And you're not sitting there waiting to say, oh, I need to do so much healing now. They've hurt me so badly for years. But that you've been healing this whole time. It's like you just a reflex. They hurt you, I heal from it. And eventually your pushback of how much you are healing yourself by yourself and with others who are helping you, that healing is so much stronger than the hurting that they're sending, to the point that they just can't touch you. They can't touch your heart. They can't touch the beauty. Their ugliness cannot reach what's in your heart. You are fortified. I love it. I love how I'm growing through this process, and I'm committed to being a better person despite what I'm facing. And I encourage you to find some way to do the same. People who are ignoring you, mistreating you because you don't believe in their ancient Canaanite demigod, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change their mind, at least not overnight. But you can be you. You can have a beautiful life, if only in your head and your heart. Let's do this. Let's make life beautiful. Thanks for listening.